I'm joined by one of the reporters who broke that story, the Daily Beast political investigations reporter and my old friend, Jose Pagliery. Jose, good to see you. You have been extremely busy with this story. I don't even know where to start. I mean, that sentence I just read about what your reporting said has so many words in it that don't normally go together on a Saturday morning. What are some of the biggest points in this new story that you published last night?
Well, good morning, Ali. Yeah, I know. It reads like a Carl Hiaasen novel. It has Florida man written all over it. Let's just start with the basics. My colleague at the Daily Beast, Roger Sollenberger, and I have been investigating Matt Gaetz's role in what we keep hearing is this sex ring, where Matt Gaetz would leverage his wingman, Joel Greenberg, a local Florida politician, to acquire young women and pay for sex. Now, we've been hearing about parties for weeks now, but in the story that we just ran yesterday, we finally zero in on one of them because we got the goods. We were able to get two witnesses who were in the hotel room after a political fundraiser in Orlando in 2019, where Gaetz, after he delivered this very Trumpy speech saying that he was the most Trumpy person in Congress, he retires to his hotel room with this woman who he's had a transactional relationship with in the past. Now, in this story, we identify this person because not only did she have a transactional relationship that was pay for sex with Matt Gaetz, but she also leveraged that into a government no-show job locally with Joel Greenberg, where she got paid almost $17,000 for not actually working. And so in this story, what we do is we zero in on this after party, where two witnesses who were there tell us that Matt Gaetz and this woman, who at the time was his paid escort, brought cocaine, snorted it with him on a bathroom counter. And this is extremely relevant for at least two reasons. The first is that Matt Gaetz keeps saying he never paid for sex. Well, we have witnesses who say differently. And the second is that this doesn't just involve somebody who landed a no-show job at taxpayers' expense. The congressman also expensed this particular hotel stay as a campaign expense. So we know that donors footed the bill, at least for this instance.
Yeah, and this business of corruption is central to this whole story. Greenberg was charged with 33 things in the beginning. He's pleading guilty to 6 of them. But a lot of what Joel Greenberg did was stuff on the public dime, access to things that he had access to because of an elected office that he held. So there's this overlay. Matt Gaetz sort of wants to convey this idea that he's just a man about town who parties a lot and had an active dating life. But in fact, there's a level of corruption and use of public funds and resources that complicates this story.
Definitely. Look, to understand why all this attention is now on Matt Gaetz, we have to understand who Joel Greenberg is, right? He's a local politician in Florida who, the second that he got into office, according to federal investigators, he started misusing that office, misappropriating funds, starting to generate Bitcoin from his computers there. He gave his friends no-show jobs that he shouldn't have given them. He started making fake IDs that he would then pass along to young women to entice them for sex. But once you understand Joel Greenberg and his role, that's where we can start understanding what Matt Gaetz is doing. Because as we also revealed just a few weeks ago, Joel Greenberg wrote a confession letter in a bungled attempt to get pardoned by then President Trump, detailing everything about who he is and his relationship with Matt Gaetz and what they did. And in that letter, Joel Greenberg explicitly states that he was with the congressman when they both had sex with a 17-year-old. This would make this 17-year-old girl an underage minor in Florida. And that's why this is so relevant, because yesterday's news that Greenberg essentially admitted to 6 of the 33 crimes he's charged with. One of them was sex trafficking of a minor. And that girl is also tied to Gaetz. And here's why. As we at the Daily Beast revealed just weeks before that, Matt Gaetz sent a Venmo payment to his wingman, Greenberg, indicating hit up, and he mentioned the girl's name. Yesterday's plea agreement signed by Greenberg was welcome to us because it actually lined up perfectly with all the reporting we've done so far. We know the name of this 17-year-old, how much she was paid, where she's been, and this is where the world is going to come down crashing for this congressman, because the feds have the receipts. They're getting the witnesses, and we know that Joel Greenberg is just the first person that the feds have really gotten to and turned essentially into a government witness. There are more, and we're going to learn more about that in the weeks ahead.
Right, and you've actually spoken to many of them, so I assume if they're speaking to the Daily Beast, the feds will have a conversation with them as well. Jose, this is a wild story, man. I've covered a lot of stories. This one is wilder with each publication that you make, and when people ask me to explain it, I have to tell them, go to the Daily Beast and read it, because it is a lot of detail. Good to see you, my friend. Jose Pagliery is a political investigations reporter for the Daily Beast. Follow his stuff on this story.